This is an IC engine which consists of all the important components like, see, this is the cylinder and this is the piston. See, this is the piston which reciprocates inside the cylinder. So here we know that cylinder is a cylindrical hole which is made in the cylindrical block, and in that cylindrical hole, this cylindrical piston, here the piston is also in cylindrical shape, so this piston reciprocates up and down. Okay, and this piston is connected to the connecting rod, and this connecting rod is connected to the crank, and this crank is connected to the crankshaft. So we have learned all these things in the last class, right? Now we shall discuss some important terms related to this IC engine. So the first one is bore. What do you mean by bore? You might have heard the word bore in your daily life. Not boredom, some other meaning. What do you mean by bore? So if you need water, you have to go to the bore. Either it is hand bore or by using motor. So bore means it is nothing but it was a hole made. It is a hole made in the earth in order to get the water from the earth. So basically bore represents the hole. So here the bore represents, here also it represents the hole which is made in the cylindrical block. So bore is nothing but the circular cylindrical hole which is made, in which the piston reciprocates from top to bottom or bottom to top. Okay, and the diameter of the cylindrical hole is termed as bore. The diameter of the cylindrical hole is termed as bore. So the inside diameter, the inside dia of the cylindrical hole. So we know that this hole is in cylindrical portion. Okay, so its diameter. So if you see the top view, the hole will be in this form. So its diameter is D. So this is known as bore. So it is represented by the letter D, bore. And the next term is TDC and BDC. We have discussed about this already. What is TDC? Top dead center and bottom dead center. So why it is called as dead center? So what is top dead center? It is the topmost position of the piston to which it can reach. So here this is the TDC, top dead center, and the bottommost position is called as BDC, that is bottom dead center. The piston cannot go beyond TDC, and it cannot go below BDC. So it can reciprocate between TDC and BDC. So TDC means it is the topmost position of the piston. Okay, the uppermost position. So what do you mean by position here? Why it is called as dead center? Top dead center and bottom dead center. So what is this? Why it is called as dead center? When will we use the word dead? When will you say that something is dead? When there is no movement. When there is no movement to anything, when it cannot work. So when you say some creature or some animal is lying on the floor, it is not moving at all, then we will say that it is dead. Okay, it is not live, it is dead. Live means it can move, dead means it will not move. So here also the piston will reach this position, and at this position its velocity will become 0. So at this position it comes to rest for a while, and again after that it changes its direction of movement. Similarly, it reaches the bottommost position and its velocity will become 0 for a while, and again it changes the direction. So at this point its velocity is 0. So that's why we will say that it is a dead center, right? So the top one is called as top dead center and the bottom one is called as bottom dead center. If you take a horizontal engine, so here since it is a vertical engine, you will say that this is top and bottom. But if you take a horizontal engine like this, so here this is one dead center and this is, for example, another dead center. So here also will you call it as the top dead center or bottom dead center? No. So here we call it as outer dead center and inner dead center. So this is with respect to the crank. With respect to crank, this is inside. This center is inside and this is outside. So that is why it is called as outer dead center. So this outer dead center is similar to top dead center, and inner dead center. So this is similar to the bottom dead center of the vertical engine. Okay, this is about dead center. Is it clear? Next, piston stroke. Piston stroke. Here we know that the piston moves between TDC and BDC. It reciprocates between TDC and BDC. So that's why what is the distance traveled by the piston when it is moving from TDC to BDC? That is called as stroke. Stroke means it is the movement of the piston from TDC to BDC or BDC to TDC. So the piston moves from TDC to BDC, then we will say that it has made one stroke. If it moves again from BDC to TDC, then we will say that it has completed 2 strokes. So that's why the distance between the TDC and the BDC is called as stroke. S-T-R-O-K-E. Stroke, piston stroke, and it is represented by the letter L. So what is a stroke? Yeah, it is the distance between TDC or ODC, okay, and BDC or IDC. So this is for a vertical engine and these two for horizontal engines. Okay, is it clear? So top dead center and bottom dead center, and the distance between these two is called as stroke, or it is also called as stroke length. Stroke or stroke length. So the another name for it is stroke length. So you might have heard the words 2-stroke engine, 4-stroke engine. So what is the stroke? It is the distance between TDC and BDC. And also the units for this one is usually millimeter. And here for bore, the bore is nothing but it is diameter of the cylinder and it is mentioned in mm. It is mentioned in mm, right? And the next one is stroke volume. You know already what is meant by stroke. So stroke is nothing but it is the distance between TDC and BDC, or it is the distance moved by the piston when it is moving from one dead center to another dead center. Okay, so during its movement when it is making a stroke, how much volume is covered or how much volume is swept by the piston, that is called as stroke volume. So for example, initially the piston is at TDC. Now the piston has reached BDC. Now what is the total volume covered from here to here? Itra. Charan. Nurar. Swami. Itrandi. చెయ్యాల పెట్టు కెమెరా వ్యూలోకి రా పర్లేదు చెయ్యాల పెట్టి పైన సో దిస్ ఇస్ ద టాప్ మోస్ట్ పొజిషన్ కింద పెట్టు నువ్వు ఎగ్జాక్ట్లీ కింద సో దిస్ ఇస్ ద బాటమ్ మోస్ట్ పొజిషన్ సో హియర్ ద piston is at TDC and here the piston is at BDC. So when it makes one stroke from here to here, what is the volume covered? This much is the volume covered. So this length is called as stroke and this much is the volume covered by the piston and this volume is called as stroke volume. This volume is called as stroke volume. Is it clear for you? Well, so it is the volume swept by the piston. It is the volume swept. Swept or swept in the sense movement. Okay, swept by the piston. Swept means తెలుగులో ఓడవడం. piston ఊడుస్తుంది ఆ వాల్యూమ్ అనుకోండి. Okay, it is the volume swept by the piston during one stroke. So that is called as swept volume. That is called as swept volume. So what are the units for volume? Cubic meters or cubic millimeters or cubic centimeters. Usually it is expressed in cubic centimeters. It is expressed in cubic centimeters. So cubic centimeters ne shortcut lo you will call it as cc, cubic centimeter. So you might have heard the word pulsar. What is the cc? 150 usually. 150 cc bike, 100 cc bike. So what is that cc? It is nothing but the stroke volume, okay, which is expressed in cubic centimeters. So 100 cc means its stroke volume is 100 cubic centimeters. This volume is 100 cubic centimeters. 150 cc means it is somewhat a bigger one. So its stroke volume is 150 cubic centimeters. So which is more powerful? Why? 150 is more powerful. Why? Because the piston moment is somewhat larger. So the power produced by the exhaust gases is higher. So that's why 150 cc bike is more powerful than 100 cc bike. Now is it clear what is meant by cc? It is the stroke volume. It is also called as swept volume. Stroke volume or swept volume, both are same. Is it clear? The next term is clearance volume. Yes, clearance volume. See, this mic is very powerful. It can catch the voice of the last person also. And it will be uploaded in YouTube so that all the world can hear your voice. Okay. So clearance volume. Here in this engine we said that there is a top dead center. Why this top dead center is not at this position? Why the piston is not moving up to this position? It is stopping at some distance from the topmost edge. Why? What is the reason? What is the reason? Why the piston is not traveling beyond this point? Why we have placed this as top dead center, not this one? because it needs some space for the operation of the valves. See, this is the inlet valve and this is the exhaust valve. So when the valve is opened, it will be opened like this. So it needs some space. If the piston moves up to the topmost point, there will be no space for the operation of the valve. So that's why some space is intentionally left below the head. See, this is the cylinder head. Here you will have the cylinder head. Below the surface of the cylinder head, some space is intentionally left for accommodating the valves. Not only these two valves, the spark plug or fuel injector in case of diesel engines. So for that purpose, this space is left, and that space is known as clearance volume. So that was the clearance left for accommodating these parts. So that's why that is called as clearance volume. So what is the definition of clearance volume? The space between the cylinder head and the piston when it is at top dead center. Assume that the piston is at top dead center. Now the space between the piston surface and the cylinder head. So this is the cylinder head. So this space is called as clearance volume. And this clearance volume is also mentioned in cubic centimeters. It is also measured in cubic centimeters. Okay. So what is the purpose of this clearance volume? What is the purpose of leaving this clearance volume? For accommodating valves, inlet valve, exhaust valve, fuel injector or spark plug, right? And the next term is, now what is total volume? Total volume is the volume between the cylinder head and the piston when the piston is at BDC. When the piston is at BDC, what does it mean? It is the sum of this clearance volume and this volume. See, this is called as clearance volume. Now what is total volume? It is the sum of both clearance volume and stroke volume. So this is called as stroke volume. So this is stroke volume and this is clearance volume. The total volume is called as total volume. Okay. So total volume is represented by the word V, and the clearance volume is represented by the word Vc, and the stroke volume is represented by Vs. So the total volume V is equal to Vc plus Vs. Okay. Well, and the next one is compression ratio. Compression ratio. This is very important. Compression ratio. It is by the name as it indicates, it is a ratio. So it is the ratio of two quantities. It is the ratio of the total volume to the clearance volume. It is the ratio of total volume to the clearance volume. So that is compression ratio. So which is total volume is nothing but V by Vc or Vs plus Vc by Vc. So this is compression ratio.